Welcome back to the channel where we explore, learn, and theorize about the Marvel Universe. Today I'll be breaking down the 7th episode of WandaVision, so if you haven't watched it yet, or you don't want any spoilers, don't worry because you can watch the first half of the video normally, where I'll be talking about Coulson, Quake, and Daredevil returning to the MCU, and the newest trailer for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then I'll let you know when the spoilers are coming. If you're new to the channel, or even if you've been watching for a while, make sure you subscribe because more than 96% of you guys aren't subscribed. And if you think you're subbed, double check because apparently there's a glitch where people are getting unsubscribed from certain channels. And remember that a subscription is free for you, but it really helps the channel a lot. And you can always unsub later if you want. Now let's get started. A couple days ago I covered a report from Giant Freakin Robot which said that Chloe Bennet could return in Secret Invasion, and it's now been corroborated by FandomWire and Popcorned Planet, who said we can exclusively reveal that Gregg's agent Coulson and Chloe Bennet's Daisy Johnson aka Quake are returning to the MCU for an upcoming project on Disney+. While we couldn't exactly confirm which series they'll appear in, all signs have been pointing to Secret Invasion, which is currently in production, and they also recently scooped that Charlie Cox's Daredevil will have a role in Secret Invasion as well. Next, WandaVision Episode 7 just came out, but Marvel is already seemingly starting to promote the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and while we still have a month until that show comes out, it's obvious that they're going to start promoting it as heavily as they did WandaVision and very soon, because they just released a short 30-second trailer called Start, which doesn't show anything new other than a new still for the US agent. But it's still awesome seeing all this after almost 2 years of no Marvel content. And lastly, the 7th episode of WandaVision just came out, so if you haven't watched it yet then click off the video now, as I'll be breaking down the 7th episode and covering all the Easter eggs. So once again there will be major spoilers ahead for WandaVision episode 7. Starting off, we see that Wanda is sulking in bed after expanding the Hex, fighting with Pietro, and not being on the best terms with Vision. We then see Billy and Tommy walk in because everything is going crazy. Their Wii remotes become GameCube controllers before eventually changing to Uno cards, but that's not the only thing that's changing. Wanda tries to eat cereal which is called Sugar Snaps, referencing Thanos in the snap, but the milk changes. Not only does the carton and the design change, but the milk itself goes from almond milk to vitamin D milk. And on the back of the carton it shows a missing child, which could be referencing the children that Wanda's been hiding and could tie into the missing kid posters we saw in the leaked Spider-Man 3 pictures. We also see that this episode is inspired by shows like The Modern Family and The Office with the talking to the camera interviews. And this episode's opening title sequence just shows Wanda's name over and over, but in a blink and you'll miss it shot, it says "I know what you're doing, Wanda," which we later find out connects to Agnes. Next, Wanda tells the kids that Pietro isn't their uncle, hinting at him not only being from a different universe, but also that he's evil. Then Agnes walks in right at the nick of time, because Wanda is slowly losing her mind, and she offers to take the kids so that Wanda can relax. What's interesting though is that after this, multiple things start changing and Wanda can't control them, once again hinting that she isn't fully or is no longer in control. Moving on, we see Vision wake up in a field, and we see that all the sword agents have been turned into clowns, and the sword base has turned into a circus. And then we see this guy. Now this guy's probably just a regular sword agent, and I'm thinking way too much into this. But you see what he's wearing? A belt with a giant S. And you know who else has a belt with a giant S? The Sentry. But please, Marvel, I beg you, don't let this be the Sentry. Sure, it'd be a funny joke, but I feel like the Sentry is way too important to have such a small and meaningless cameo. Anyway, Vision finds Darcy and uses his powers to take her out of Wanda's control, and she basically explains everything that happened up to this point and why Wanda created the Hex and brought him back to life. Next, over at the new makeshift sword base, since the other one was turned into a circus when Wanda expanded the Hex, we see that Hayward is just as evil as ever, and is planning to launch a full-scale attack against Wanda. We then see Monica Rambeau and Jimmy Woo, and we finally learn what it was that Darcy emailed Jimmy in the last episode, and it turns out that Hayward was trying to bring Vision back to life to create a sentient weapon, which is why in episode 4 Hayward says we shifted away from manned missions and refocused on robotics, nanotech, AI, sentient weapons like it says on the door. But Monica states it also says observation and response on that door, not creation, and this is where we start going into crazy theory territory. But it's believed that Hayward could in fact be Ultron in disguise. Now sure, Hayward knew Maria Rambeau and watched Monica grow up in S.W.O.R.D., but in the Avengers Assemble show Ultron disguises himself as a human, so it's not out of the realm of possibility that Ultron killed the real Hayward and disguised himself as the director of S.W.O.R.D. And while WandaVision probably won't copy this exactly, Ultron was a sentient robot who created his own vibranium body, an army of Ultron bots, and almost defeated the Avengers, so it doesn't seem very likely that he just died in Age of Ultron. He probably backed himself up somewhere and hid until recently. I mean, even Arnim Zola uploaded his conscience into a computer for over 40 years, so it's not like it was impossible. Anyway, back to what I was saying. Hayward was trying to bring Vision back, but failed until Wanda broke into the Sword Lab and stole him. So now Hayward's trying to take advantage and recapture Vision. We then get to the most disappointing scene in the show so far, but don't worry because I think everyone's just overreacting. Monica and Jimmy arrive at a camp and meet up with Major Goodner, who shows her the vehicle that will supposedly allow her to enter Westview. However, I don't think that Goodner is the aerospace engineer. It's been played up as a huge cameo on the level of Luke Skywalker in The Mandalorian, so it just means that we'll see them later on. Anyway, Monica tries to enter Westview, but the vehicle doesn't work, so Monica just walks through the Hex, and like we've been calling it, When she comes out the other side, she's got her photon powers. Monica then runs to Wanda's house to warn her that Hayward is coming, but before she can convince Wanda, Agnes shows up and takes Wanda away. Previously, Agnes had taken the kids to give Wanda time to rest, but when Wanda and Agnes arrive at Agnes's house, the kids are nowhere to be found. And this makes me think that my theory could be right, at least partially. We still don't know who Ralph is, and while it's rumored that he could be Hayward, if Hayward is actually Ultron, that means that Ralph is someone completely different. And my theory is that he's the Grim Reaper, who we still haven't seen, and who along with Agnes has to capture Billy and Tommy as payment for Mephisto bringing his dead brother Wonder Man back to life inside Vision's body. Anyway, Agnes tells Wanda that the kids are in the basement, but when Wanda goes down there, Agnes appears and reveals herself as Agatha Harkness. She reveals that she's the one that's been controlling everything in the background, including the arrival of Pietro. She killed Sparky so that the kids would grow up. She pretended to be under Wanda's control when talking to Vision, and she was apparently even the one interviewing Wanda that morning. And in Agnes's basement, we also see a book, which is most likely the Darkhold given its connection to Mephisto. Then the episode ends with Monica trying to get into Agnes's basement, but Quicksilver appears behind her, and if it wasn't obvious enough before, thanks to Agnes we now know that he's probably a villain. And lastly, this episode's commercial is for a depression pill called Nexus, but in the comics the Nexus is a cross-dimensional gateway which provides a pathway to any and all possible realities, including realities between realities. However, it's unknown whether it was created by some being, or if it's just the one place in the entire multiverse where all realities naturally intersect. But this is really interesting because it's hinting at how Pietro came over from Fox's X-Men universe, how Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus and Jamie Foxx's Elektra will appear in Spider-Man 3, and how all the other rumored characters will appear in Doctor Strange 2. But let me know what you guys think about all this. Would you like to see Quake and Phil Coulson appear in the MCU, even if they don't have any connection to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Are you excited for the Falcon and the Winter Soldier? And what did you think of episode 7? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you'll never miss another video. Thanks for watching, and remember to wash your hands and stay safe.